Alright, so we're starting chapter 13, which is surface area and volume of 3D shapes. And as you can tell by the subtitle here, I'm just going to we're going to talk about all the surface area at once and then talk about all the volume. Because really, once you know the formula, it's just plugging into that formula. So we're going to start off first by defining what surface area is. And so surface area is the measure of total area an object occupies. Another way I like to think of it, because we're talking total, right? So another way I like to think about it is the sum of the areas of each surface. So like last year when you were working with rectangular prisms, right? We were finding the area of all the surfaces added together. So either you can find the area of all the surfaces or you can use the formula. So we're going to start off with a cylinder. So a cylinder is a 3D figure with two parallel circular bases that are of the same size. So our bases will be the same. So things that we need to talk about in a cylinder is that our bases are circles. So here's our bases, and it doesn't mean what's on the bottom and what's on top. Our cylinder can be turned on its side. Our circles are still going to be our base. And then we have to know our height. And when we talk about the height of a cylinder, that's the perpendicular, or the length of the perpendicular segment that joins the bases. So on our what we call right cylinders, it's the segment that joins and we all know drawing straight is not my forte here, but the segment that joins center to center and creates a right angle with the bottom. That's what perpendicular means. But our height is going to go from top to bottom as long as it's a right cylinder, meaning that everything is squared up and not slanted. So that is our height. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is the lateral surface. Which, when it comes to a cylinder, if you were to flatten a cylinder out, the lateral surface actually creates a rectangle. With the height being our width and the length being the circumference around the circle. So our lateral surface is our curved surface. Oops. So when we're talking about lateral surface, that's this area right here, this middle part. And that does not include the circles. So we're talking about the space between our bases. All right, so finding the surface area of a cylinder. Remember we talked about that surface area is the sum of the areas of each surface. So that's saying that we have the area of the first circle plus the area of the second circle plus our lateral surface. That's how we find surface area. Well, area of a circle is the same thing, right? Pi r squared and pi r, r squared. That does not look like a pi. Let's try that one more time. Whereas our lateral surface is going to be the circumference. So circumference of a circle in terms of pi is 2 pi r, and then times our height. So h for height. So when we're thinking of this, r equals radius, and h equals height. Now, to simplify this, pi r squared, those two are going to be the same number. So our true formula for surface area is going to be 2 pi r squared, because we have the two circles, plus the 2 pi r, so the circumference around the circle, times our height to get the area of our lateral surface. And that's our formula. So now we're going to use it. What is the surface area of the cylinder? We want to use 3.14 for pi, and we're going to round our answer to the nearest tenth of a square foot. All right, so what we need for surface area, and what I always like to do, is write out what I have. So I know that the height is 2 feet. Radius is from the center to the outside. So right now I have what we call the diameter. So our diameter is 10 feet. To get the radius, I'm going to divide that in half. So 10 divided by 2 will give us our radius of 5. So these are the two items that I'm going to use. And then I'm going to plug into my formula. So surface area equals, and our formula was 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. And so I'm going to have 2 times pi times 5 squared plus 2 times pi times 5 times, and our h is 2. And then I'm just going to simplify. So we have 2 times 25 pi, because I'm just going to leave it in terms of pi for now. And then 5 times 2 is 10, times 2 is 20, so 20 pi. Then we're going to take 2 times 25, and we get 50 pi plus 20 pi. And then 50 plus 20 is 70, so we end up with 70 pi. Now, it wants us to use 3.14 and to figure out to the nearest tenth. If it says in terms of pi, 70 pi, try that again. 70 pi would be our answer. Now we're going to take 70 times 3.14, and we end up with 219.8 feet squared as our answer. So again, if we're given a diameter, so the length all the way across our circle, then I have to divide it in half to get the radius, because the radius is half the diameter. From there, I just plug in my radius and my height into my formula and simplify down, and that gives me my answer. All right, that is it for surface area of the cylinder.